What role should Facebook play in international politics? And Lite, where does line draw the line?
You've heard of Arduino, but how many of you actually know what it is? We'll also be discussing how one developer is using the old school spy technique of Steganography to protect our photos from Facebook, as well as the very latest iPhone 6s rumours.
This is Luke Besant
and Cameron Norris.
Every week we bring you the latest industry news, must-have reviews, gadgets and internet culture.
Giving our opinions on the wider legal, social and moral implications of life in our digital age.
This is App to Date. Today is Monday, the 2nd of February 2015, and we'll be taking you through the latest industry news, must-have apps, answering your listener questions before going headfirst into the forbidden realm of the opinion section.
So Luke, do you want to start us off with Facebook Lite?
So as we all know, Facebook have recently taken to splitting their app into compartmentalised standalone single feature apps such as Facebook Messenger, Facebook Pages Manager, Facebook Groups, Slingshots, Rooms, Mentions and Facebook at Work, just to name a few.
I like to call it the Zuckerberg salad.
Not to mention the other companies that belong to the Facebook Corporation umbrella such as Instagram. Well, now it appears that Facebook are launching another app to the market called Facebook Lite. Facebook Lite is essentially a super lightweight version of the primary Facebook app, weighing only 252 kilobytes and designed primarily for users on 2G networks and in areas of poor network coverage. Sounds like something we'll be using.
You don't know how true that is, listeners.
The app is only available on Android 2.2 or higher, and it has been launched in selected areas of Asia and African markets over the weekend, including Bangladesh, Nepal, Nigeria, South Africa, Sudan, Sri Lanka, Vietnam and Zimbabwe.
Well, I'm glad that both Mugabe and the Dalai Lama will be able to get their Facebook fix.
This is essentially in beta mode at the moment. However, sources have speculated that it could be scrapped entirely if it's seen as something that's not worth pursuing, which obviously means if they don't make a significant amount of money from using this app for their marketing causes, then they will not continue to support it. Interestingly though, it's had over 50,000 downloads despite being on the down low.
And next we have the Google Waze endangers police. So Luke, do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
I really hate the way they decided to spell Waze. Come on guys, you're not trending enough to do that. It's terrible.
That's kind of like 90s pre-hipster.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Saved by the Bell for some reason.
Yeah. Party on Waze. The traffic and navigation application Waze has come under question recently, back in late December, in a letter to the CEO of Google, Larry Page.
The Los Angeles police chief said that the Waze app poses a danger to police because of its ability to track their locations, and they are using the unwitting Waze community as their lookouts for the location of police officers by allowing information to be shared in real time.
The letter stated, "I am concerned about the safety of the law enforcement officers and the community, and the potential for your Waze products to be misused by those with criminal intent to endanger police officers and the community."
In response, the Waze spokeswoman, Julie Mosler, said, "We think very deeply about safety and security and work in partnership with the NYPD and other police and departments of transportation all over the world to help municipalities better understand what's happening in their cities in real time. These relationships keep citizens safe, promote faster emergency responses and help alleviate traffic congestion. Police partners support Waze and its features, including reports of police presence, because most users tend to drive more carefully when they believe law enforcement is nearby."
It's almost as if the Los Angeles police chief wants it to be that he can see people, but they can't see him, which is a bit of a stealthy technology technique, and I don't think that's very fair, to be honest. I think you should be able to see where a police officer is if they can see you.
Yeah, well, I came up with this really good invention called ears, and they're really good at hearing sirens that police cars tend to drive around on. So, I don't know, maybe he wants to disable the sirens as well. I can see that, you know, maybe highly organised gangs are going to kind of hijack the community here and use it to say, oh, there's a police car coming and all this lot, but oh, come on, they do that thousands of ways anyway. See what I did there?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah, ways.
Yeah. Kind of a non-issue for me, if you like. It was really interesting, though, that the Los Angeles police chief actually took it upon himself to write to the Google CEO. I mean, hat off to him. You know, he felt strongly about something and he acted on it. And I think that's great. More people like that.
I don't know how true that is. It might have been his people to Larry Page's people.
His secretary. Well done to his secretary. So, Luke, you mentioned drawing the line with Line. Would you care to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, of course. The Line, the instant messenger service from Japan, is about to launch its online grocery shopping in Thailand with its new plans to expand. So you may remember back in episode 18 we were having a bit of a laugh about how the messaging app service Line had so many completely separate projects starting up at once and on the go that included Line Music, Mix Radio, food delivery service Line Wow, and payment service Line Pay, to mention just a few.
Line Salad.
Well, this week, Line, the Japanese-based company, are rolling out a food delivery service to Thailand, and it plans to expand into other Southeast Asian nations to tap into the booming growth in the local area's economy.
The online grocery service will begin on February the 4th in Thailand, which is Line's second biggest market after Japan, with more than 33 million active users of the app.
Line have not given out any financial details about the project, nor any time frame for the plan to be launched of the grocery service in the rest of Southeast Asian countries. It is tied up with A-Commerce, which is a Thai e-commerce service in the region, which will handle the product sourcing, warehousing, fulfillment and deliveries. So next up, following up from a story we had last week, we were speaking about how we thought the new Google app was going to have third-party integration due to our informed predictions about the app. The prophecy has been fulfilled. And on Friday, the announcement that Google Search app for Android will offer Google Now cards from 40 different third-party apps at a glance. These apps include Shazam, Airbnb, Maru, eBay, Pandora, TripAdvisor, Lyft, The Guardian and much more.
We've had several successful predictions on this show, and it's actually one of my favourite things that we do on here. And what a great example. So, hat off to you, Luke. I believe it was you who came up with that one.
Yeah, well, I didn't predict the Snapgate like you.
Well, we're doing pretty well between us, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Last week we explained the difference between VR and AR and introduced some of you to the Oculus Rift. Well, this week, now that you've been indoctrinated into the VR and AR club, we have news that Google's latest Android update has been blocked from appearing on the Galaxy Note 4 as Oculus themselves are tweaking Samsung's own virtual reality gear to be more compatible with the update.
The appropriately named Samsung Gear VR headset is the company's answer to the rising interest in virtual and augmented reality. The device is essentially a headset much like the Oculus Rift, which enables the Galaxy Note 4 screen to become a vibrant 3D virtual world.
What sets the Gear VR apart from many VR headsets at the moment is that it's completely wire-free and mobile, with all the processing done on the Galaxy Note 4. I must admit, Luke, it does look a little bit stupid. The design isn't as cool as the Oculus Rift, I personally think. Because it does kind of look like a white Tupperware box strapped to your face. We've seen it and it does. And I would really like to see a steampunk edition of some of these VR headsets come out. let's get a bit more stylish. It's the cliche futuristic at the moment. Although like a Gundam helmet. You know, the Gundam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want to go full Space Marine, but give me a Space Marine helmet. This thing does kind of look like you've got your sandwich bag strapped to your face, so sort of fix that and then we'll have a look at some VR.
Do you think we're going to see more and more these kind of mobile device manufacturers releasing Oculus-inspired headsets like Samsung have done here, who've actually worked in partnership with Oculus? And would you buy one, Luke? Would you buy one with your new iPhone?
You know what? I would go out and say at the moment I wouldn't buy one. I probably won't buy one for the next few years. But 2018 maybe, I'll probably end up with one. I think that it's the natural progression that these things will become smaller and smaller and become a little bit more subtle and become something that you can naturally wear and not look like you have your lunch on your face.
Yeah, I think I'm going to develop a pirate eye patch, actually, rather than like a full-blown goggle headset.
Yeah.
Pirate eye patch, where you can close your good eye, so to speak, and just see through your AR eye, and, let's be cyber pirates.
Not to be too spiritually enlightened, digitally enlightened rather, you can have a third eye.
Oh, third eye.
Hack your, what did you say last week? Hacking your optical nerve and putting in another input.
I like that a lot. I would have like a wolf's eye, I think, actually.
We are babbling here.
We are. Anyway, moving on, we have some really, really juicy iPhone 6s rumours here. Yes, I'm using the word juicy for these rumours because it's pretty interesting and it kind of gives away the direction Apple might be going with the new release. So to get us started, the iPhone 6s is rumoured to feature not 1, but 2 gigabytes of RAM, which we have kind of mentioned on before as being a possibility, but I mean these rumours are getting more and more likely as time goes on, and this should make the new iPhone 6s a substantial performance upgrade over the iPhone 6. But not just that, there's a next generation graphics processor being developed. The Power VR, I mean that's interesting alone that that's in the name, Series 7 XT, which in 3 industry standard benchmarks has shown a performance improvement of between 35 and 61% over the current A series processors, which already allow iPhones and iPad products to deliver the best in class gaming performance. So imagine a 35 to 61% increase. It's pretty dramatic, especially combined with doubling up the RAM.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this iPhone 6s, I mean, people have speculated that it's going to be a bigger jump between the 6 and the 6S than it was between the 5 and the 6, which I think is really interesting. Really interesting.
Well, the A6X processor rather that was inside the new iPad over the iPhone 6 was a massive improvement on the previous chip. I think because of the way that Moore's law works, this is quite an exception to that rule, the way it's actually pushing way past what we were expecting.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive step up. I mean, I was kind of expecting the next iPhone to be kind of, you know, it have some fancy feature that's not really all that important, that the processing speed and the graphics wouldn't be such a big improvement. But hey, I was wrong there. And I mean, what this seems to be pointing towards and seems to mean is that the iPhone 6 is probably going to feature high performance, high resolution gaming as its main selling point. I mean, everything is pointing in that direction. And with the rising interest in gaming tablets being released by companies like Nvidia, who are a leading manufacturer of high-performance PC gaming graphics cards, in case you didn't know, and mobile gaming at an all-time high, it's not really surprising that Apple are going to go for this kind of angle.
I think that the PlayStation and the Xbox, this is the last generation of them that we're going to see that's going to sell substantially because of the way that they're beginning to bring in these virtual reality elements to phones. I think the whole gaming console market's going to completely disappear over the next 10 years.
I completely agree with you there, Luke. I literally could not agree more. It's dying off. Xbox One sales have been absolutely appalling. And I'm not surprised. Why go and fork out sort of 500 quid for a dedicated bit of kit that doesn't even perform as well as some of these new tablets that are coming out? I mean, that's just insane. And, you know, you can have your PC at home as well, play games 10 times better graphics than the latest consoles coming out.
I feel like despite the fact they obviously made a huge jump between the PS4 and the PS3, they're still not future-proof in the way the PS3 was at its time. That console was future-proof for the next 5 years that it was about, whereas this, you know, PlayStation 4, it's almost out already.
Yeah, to me, they both feel kind of like, oh yeah, that was that thing released a couple of years ago, which didn't really take off.
They haven't progressed far enough past the N64
no,
to actually gloat about with these
They've all
consoles.
just got a little bit prettier.
Yeah, so I think that these tablets and virtual reality and augmented reality will be the next level of gaming, and I think the augmented reality will actually take it into a whole new realm of gaming when it comes to live gaming events.
Oh wow, can you imagine that, being in there amidst the action? You know, we could have simultaneous crowds of people within a game viewing as if it's real life, COD characters, you know, missiles, grenades, everything.
Yeah, like Laser Planet, but...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
We've seen huge gaming crowds at for like Twitch events. The game League of Legends attracts huge audiences, millions of people around the world watching at the exact same time. I mean, it really is incredible. And wow, bring VR into it, or widespread VR, it's going to take over everything. I mean, sports today, as we know it, they're going to change. They're going to change, and they're all going to become digitised in some way. There's going to be a virtual element to all of them. I think it's really interesting. Now that we've given you the either good or bad news, depending on how you look at it, that basically your iPhone 4, your iPod, the lot, they're fast approaching obsolescence, unfortunately. But I have an app that just might save your devices from the scrap heap. Now, with the Many Things Home Security Webcam app, you can actually convert your old iPhone or even iPod Touch into a wireless security camera. All you have to do is download the app from the App Store and install it on both your iOS devices, that being your old iPhone or iPad Touch and your new iOS device. So this could be your new iPhone 6S when they come out. All you have to do is create an account with Many Things and you can access the video streamed from your old iOS device to your new one, so you can check on your home, your dog, your car, your neighbours, whatever. It's pretty cool, and best off, it's free. And I highly recommend getting hold of this stuff. It's called Craft double-sided foam sellotape pads. I use them on everything. I've got like a little mince box stuck to the side of my computer and kind of these vinyl figurines on top of the monitor. They're amazing. You could attach your iOS device like anywhere, on the back of a door, on your ceiling, and just record. And yeah, these little tabs. So, I mean, you don't need to go out and buy one of these Gorilla, you know the Gorilla tripods?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't need one of them. $1.99, go and get yourself some of these foam sellotape tabs and hook up your iPhone somewhere interesting. Test out this app, because you're going to have a new iOS security camera wherever you need it. And a full tutorial with photos will be available on the new website later this month in the tips and tricks section, so be sure to check it out.
Okay, moving on to apps of the week, and the first one that I would like to put forward, because I know Cameron's gone for something quite sophisticated, so I've actually gone for Vine for Kids for iOS. Now, Vine, the video service for people with an attention span less than a semi-conscious goldfish, have released a children's version of their video sharing app for children under the age of 5 on iOS. A blog post by Vine's head of communications and marketing said, "We've seen for ourselves and heard from parents, siblings and others that kids love Vine. So we built Vine for Kids, a simple new app that gives young children a fun way to watch Vines." Vine Kids for iOS uses animated characters, and the company claims that kids can watch videos that are appropriate for a young audience. The app has been tailored for kids and includes quirky sound effects when you tap the screen and you swipe right or left for a new Vine. I got hands-on with this app, and initially I was concerned that it would be quite unsafe. In the same way as the main Vine app, it would be a sharing and communication platform with a community. However, this app is not really that at all. It's just short looping videos designed specifically for children by Vine, and then there's not any sort of sharing or community or contacts or commenting or anything to do with other people, and it's all age appropriate. So why not let your kids play on this and have a little download? It's a nice little quirky game.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice idea, actually, because it gives children the illusion of being on Vine without the danger. And I mean, they all want to feel included and kind of get familiar with these kinds of different platforms that people are engaging with. So yeah, do it in a safe way. Again, there's some pretty good things happening this week, actually. I'm impressed with that police chief. I'm impressed with Vine. I mean, I've got no one to rant at. What's going on? It's coming. Now, my app of the week was actually sent over to me as a link by Luke as something to check out. And now I'd heard about this very interesting concept before through one of our contacts at GCHQ. Had introduced us into something really cool. So Wicker takes back control of your photos on Facebook. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Steganography. Well, surprisingly we had, and now Wicker messaging app is using it to allow people to share messages or even pictures over Facebook that have been encrypted using an old-time spy technique. What this effectively means is that the Facebook servers never see the real picture and have no opportunity to save copies, target ads, collect data or anything else, and we think that's pretty awesome. Now, for those of you who don't know, steganography is the art of hiding messages in plain sight, or to be slightly more accurate for this example, in pixels. Steganography effectively works by replacing bits of useless or unused data in regular computer files, such as graphics, sound, text, HTML, or even floppy disks, or pixels in a picture's case, with bits of different invisible information which can then be decoded and made sense of. So when you post a picture using Wicker to Facebook, what actually appears to the social network is a kitten photo instead of the personal images that you are actually sharing. Friends with the Wicker app installed can then double click on these kitten images through Facebook to see what was actually shared online, and those who are not in the person's Wicker cycle will only see the baby cat. I mean, it's It's really, really, really impressive. They've taken a piece of existing technology and applied it to a, quite a simple day-to-day activity, sharing photos. We're always running on about Facebook, aren't we? I mean, they take ownership of photos that are uploaded there, they put them where they like, they target you with ads, they're now auto-enhancing your photos because, none of us are pretty enough anyway, according to old Zuckerberg. Yeah, I mean, I just think this is great. And one of the most interesting points that the co-creator Nico Sell made was actually that they are the only secure messaging app that has not had a successful attack and described themselves as the last man standing. So if you want a incredibly secure image or message service, then check it out. This is Wicker.
Yeah, originally we thought it was like some sort of thing where they put up an iframe onto your Facebook, but then that is actually really complicated and kind of impossible because of the way Facebook works. So to actually use Steganography and edit some images so that only certain people can unlock it, I would say it's absolute borderline genius.
What they do is select a section of a photo, let's say a bitmap photo, and they will select certain pixels and change their color, for example. And each color could represent a corresponding code, which then can be decoded into either information or a message. As a quick history lesson, steganography, which literally means covered writing, dates back to ancient Greece, where common practices consisted of etching messages in wooden tables and then covering them with wax and tattooing a messenger's shaven head, letting his hair grow back and then shaving it again when he arrived at his contact point. So what an interesting history this app has. Everything from MI5 to the ancient Greeks. Not up to date, but this is back to date.
Back to date. That's going to be our greatest hits episode. Moving on to the Q&A section. What is Arduino and why does it matter?
The Arduino is essentially a tiny computer designed to be connected to sensors that receive information from the physical world. So what is the point, you ask? Because I know many of you will have seen this online. You'll be Googling something to do with electronics or something to do with the Internet of Things, and Arduino will appear.
Well, this is quite different from your desktop PC, which is for the most part designed around sending and receiving digital information like HTML code for websites, program files like Word, and image formats such as JPEG, etc.
But with the Arduino, however, you can very affordably and fairly easily add components like accelerometers to measure acceleration, thermistors to measure temperature, and even other components that can measure humidity. It's a really flexible platform for building your electronic projects on.
So what this means is that with Arduino you can build things like devices that text you when your plants are thirsty, or send you a tweet if somebody leaves the fridge open. Or if that's not exciting enough, how about making your own heart rate monitor for cycling that logs to a memory card and displays your heart rate in a series of pulsing LEDs on your chest?
With Arduino you can do just that. And with the Internet of Things in mind, these kinds of possibilities make Arduino the perfect stay-at-home companion for your smartphone that doesn't cost you thousands of pounds like many of the luxury consumer Internet of Things alternatives. Some researchers have even predicted that within the next 5 to 10 years, the Arduino will be used in every school to teach electronics and physical computing. It's that important.
And another great thing about Arduino is it's on an open source platform, meaning the software and even the hardware is free to use, modify, share and use as you see fit.
Meaning there are tons of documentation, tutorials and projects that you can find online to follow along at home with and create. My favourite project that I've discovered so far has to be the InMoth 3D printed open source robot by Frenchman Gaël Langevin. By following along, you can pretty much build a fully functional humanoid robot using only 3D printed parts, Arduinos and a bunch of servos. And servos, they're basically little motors that you find in RC cars.
So why is it that we always end up building a Terminator by the end of every show?
Yeah, it does seem to be an ongoing thing. I mean, I was quite inspired actually by, I don't want to say Terminatrix,
Yeah.
but Terminatrix.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It's the rise of AI, the rise of virtual reality.
The rise of digital consciousness.
Yeah, the rise of the Terminatrix. The results look pretty amazing, and I would really like to congratulate this guy on having done the tech community a pretty great service by making all of his project files, including the 3D models, readily available online for free. So thanks to Gail, I've actually had the opportunity to begin modifying some of the open source 3D models that I've downloaded from his website as I plan to build my own robot arm. Yeah, I'm not joking, Luke, I'm building a robot arm. I've already ordered an Arduino Young, which is basically an Arduino with a built-in wireless connection and Linux support, so I can fully integrate the Internet of Things, as well as 8 servos and a whole host of electronical components to get me through the project. And you can keep up to date with my project through the new up-to-date website that we're launching later this month. So when it comes out, check it out because it's going to be packed full of awesome content.
Yeah, and he's going to crush that arm in a computer factory and it's going to be found by Miles Dyson.
Exactly, yeah. We're at this point of the show.
We're at
the opinion section.
It's mostly my opinion this week, so let's have a look. So every week we have the opinion section, and this week I'm going to be presenting my recent thoughts regarding Facebook's political affiliation to Cameron. And based on Cameron's response, this could either be a disastrous for our working relationship or very brief segment of the show. So the question is, what role should Facebook play in international politics? This question was influenced by the fact that Facebook have now rolled out a new feature where Facebook asks on election day if you have voted, not for who, and displays it on your network. Now for me, I believe this is an act of the utmost invasiveness by Facebook. When Facebook came out, it was not about this at all. It was supposed to be of no political affiliation. The major downside is that this is truly not what it's made out to be. They're marketing this at the concept of being a patriot, of being a good citizen, and voting for a way of gloating to your friends. What it actually is finding out from a marketing standpoint who are the people who are worth politically marketing votes for. In 2012, over 6 billion was spent on political marketing and vote propaganda on the US election alone. This figure grows increasingly as it seems to grow like Moore's law, and I have no hard evidence to back this up. I've based this on hearsay and it's a fallacy for sure, but I've heard it said from what I consider and the majority of public consider to be a reliable source of information that the only people who have ever won an election in the last 100 years have been those with the largest marketing campaign fund. So it makes sense for them to be targeting advertising on Facebook if they know you vote. So this is the real reason for the move on Facebook. So this is obviously a financially plotted out idea and marketing idea of a way of making money out of political parties on Facebook's behalf. The upside of this, many would say, is that it encourages and reminds people to vote on election day, which means that Facebook now has a political affiliation with the current sub-democratic system. So my standpoint is none to the question, what role should Facebook play in international politics? But what they are actually doing is pretending not to have a political affiliation, but secretly having a financially motivated agenda. So Cameron, what do you think? And try and keep this brief because I know that we tend to rant on and we might end up rearranging the entire political system for the entire planet. So
I will keep this brief. Luke, what I think actually is you've stumbled upon something very, very concerning and very, well, it's just incredibly interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think that this could even go deeper than being financially motivated, because this puts Facebook potentially in an incredibly powerful situation. For example, we have more and more people joining Facebook. Let's say people then become reliant, let's say, to receive their propaganda or, their party information via Facebook. Facebook can then prioritise or exclude parties that are bringing out legislation that goes against Facebook's interests.
Yep.
So potentially Facebook could be acting as a screen against parties that are against them, if you like. I mean, this is making Facebook above democracy, really.
Yeah.
Because they're the middleman. They
have more people using Facebook than there are people in any religion in the world.
Well, there you go. And I think this is very, very, very dangerous, and that this shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening because this is handing over power to a private company led by arguably an egomaniac, and it could have disastrous consequences for the freedom of the United States, essentially. If I was Zuckerberg and there was these and political parties were pandering to my needs so they could get preferential exposure through my social network because it was so powerful,
yeah. Well, if they could get free targeted advertising through their Facebook page because Mark Zuckerberg supports their party, then they're in the money.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. So have a think about that one.
It's a case of where you get all of your information from. If you get all of your information from one source, then you believe that one source. It's similar to the feeding frenzy that happened in Nazi Germany, that people just all of a sudden, because the only way they could think was the way that they were told to think, they caused such horrific things to happen. And nobody really knew it was happening till afterwards.
Yeah, it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
That's the incredible thing about the human mind, is its ability to adapt to the situations and scenarios it's presented with. And we are capable of all kinds of cruelty, and we're going to start ranting here into all kinds of behavioural psychology stuff. But Luke, I think you've stumbled upon something incredible here. Facebook could be poised for US domination. American citizens, please be aware of this. This is happening. This isn't like scaremongering here. This is serious stuff. Do you really want to hand that kind of power over to a company owned by individuals?
Well, it comes down to much more than just American elections, although at the moment they're only running it out for have you voted to the American market.
Yeah.
It does run straight into the heart of Asian countries, even our own country, any country that uses Facebook. And like I say, there's more citizens on Facebook than there are in any country in the world, than there are of any religion in the world. And these people have more influence than that. Like, you have 1 billion Christians, per se. You have 1.7 billion people on Facebook. Everybody follows what they see on Facebook. Everybody follows it. Not every Christian goes to the church on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook have even been experimenting with changing the behaviour of their users.
Yeah, I've seen that. They play with people's behavioural psychology by changing what they see in their newsfeed to be either positive or negative.
And this is, that's some kind of like CIA classified crazy stuff. You're talking about MK Ultra, human linguistic programming. I'm not going to get any more into that, but crazy stuff.
If you'd like to do some research on it for yourself, it's MK Ultra human linguistic programming.
Facebook are doing it.
Just Google that and turn on your privacy settings.
And avoid the conspiracy theory rubbish that you will be presented with along your kind of research journey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if anything with David Icke comes up, just step aside. There's not lizard people. So anyway, thank you very much for listening in to the App to Date podcast this week. I have been Luke Besson.
And I've been Cameron Norris. You've been listening to the App to Date podcast.
Follow us on Twitter at iOS App News 24. Find us on Facebook, the App to Date podcast, where you can catch up with the latest show notes, artwork and discussions and more.
We also offer a free weekly email news summary, which you can sign up for through the Facebook page.
And if you're interested in sponsoring or a partnership with the show, make sure you visit our website, www.3deal.co.uk, for more information.
Subscribe and we'll see you next week.
One last footnote before we go.
And finally, I'm going to reveal the secret behind my recent pub trick with a friend of the show and listener, Stephen. So basically, we're in the pub, and I tell him, I've got this new app that can change the molecular structure of any material and make it indestructible. Well, actually, I didn't have an app. And actually, the material wasn't indestructible. This was actually a material created by one of the fastest growing companies in the US for the last 3 years in a row. And that company is called Dynamite. And what they've developed isn't an app that uses advanced physics to render any object temporarily indestructible. As I claimed with this piece of paper I pulled out of my pocket. It's actually an innovative use of a material called Tyvek, which is a spun-bound olefin fibre that is both waterproof and almost impossible for even the strongest man, yeah, I'm looking at you, Luke, to tear with their bare hands. So it resembles paper. Normally it's used to create high-strength overalls for chemical labs, mechanics, and even cleaners, but Dynamite have been using it to create paper-like indestructible wallets printed with amazing artwork from independent artists. And the paper I used in my example, it was just a cutout. It was a preview of that material. It wasn't actually a receipt. So, Stephen, secrets revealed. Check it out. Check out Dynamite. And you can find out more on Tyvek and how it's used on our website later this month. So, again, stay tuned.